And, even sometimes it might be difficult to even say, I don't know that we are even beginning to grieve and even beginning to heal. But that is my prayer, that even in the midst of our sorrow, in the midst of our sadness, in the midst of our grief, in the midst of our frustration and our anger and all of those different emotions and things that we feel, that when we can't do it ourselves, that we would recognize that there is help and there is hope, and that God's compassion is great. I've done a lot of funerals in my life and ministered to lots of grief over the years that I've been a pastor, for 30 plus. It's never the same and it's never easy. And what I have found, though, there is a need for one another and to lean on one another, to help one another. Most of the time when I'm dealing with people, I try to keep as quiet as possible, believe it or not. Because even after all the years, I don't know what to say or how to say it. Because normally if I say something, it's the wrong thing. And so normally I just tell them, I love you. Whatever that means, I love you. And whatever that means to you, to us, to Uvalde, I love Uvalde. I love y'all. And my prayer and my hope is that through the darkest of times, like I said, I've done lots of, I've never experienced anything as sad or as gut-wrenching, heartbreaking as all of that's going on. And me personally, I'm too weak for it. But also know that God's power is made perfect in my weakness and our weakness. And He heals the brokenhearted, and He lifts up the fallen. And I'm grateful for that, because that's where I am. Continue to be. But one step is kept going in front of the other. And that is my prayer for everyone. That God's peace would reign. Even when it's not even understandable. That God's peace will reign. So I ask for your help. I've asked for, the need to allow people to grieve. And whatever that means for each one. Some need to talk. Some need not to talk. I'm one of those, I don't need to talk. I need to be away from people to really heal. Others, they need people. Each one is different. But I pray, that each of us would help and allow each other to grieve as each one needs to grieve. And don't expect someone else to grieve the way you do. Allow people to grieve the way they need to grieve. And I pray that in that grieving, that God would come and do what only God can do.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. We called this today, we don't have any revealing things. As Tony said, this week is a tough week. We can't even imagine the pain that the families are feeling. 1 year, and we realize you still don't have the answers that you need, and it's frustrating to all of us. For that, I apologize. But We called this basically to tell you, this week we're here to support the families. We're not going to be doing interviews after today. The city won't, the police department's not. This is not about us. This is about these families and these survivors, and it's their time, and it's our time to reflect on the memories of these children that lost their lives that day and the 2 teachers. So we ask for your, to show compassion, to show privacy when it's asked for by the, whether it be families or citizens. And, you know, most of all, we just ask that you lift them up in prayers and lift this community as it's been done around the world for the last year. Like I said, we don't have any revealing answers or anything like that. I wish we did, but we don't. But most of all, we're just here to tell you that this is about the families and their children and the lost souls that we lost that day. So at that point, we'll open it up to a few questions, but like I said, we don't have anything major revealing.
Good morning. I'm Julie Keeble, staff writer for the Uvalde Leader News. And I just wondered, you talked a little bit about like not doing interviews, and I see that the city—
Can you speak? I can't hear you, Julie.
The city has taken a bit of a step back during the anniversary week. And I'm just curious, how do you see the city's role this week in supporting the families and the residents that live here? And also, how do you see the city's role as we move forward through this tragedy? How do you see, what is the city going to do to try to help people grieve and get through and move forward as we face this horrible ongoing situation?
I don't, you know, I wish I had a playbook. I don't, for what we're going to do. I mean, you know, there's, you know, it's been a year. There's times it breaks me up when I stop and reflect and think. And I don't know the answer. I just know that together we can get through it. If you try to stand alone, you can't. And so hopefully as a community, we can get together. These families have had nothing but, and I'm going to say it this way, they've had nothing but pure hell for a year. And they have. And, you know, as a community, perhaps, you know, we can come together and continue to come together as we have and be there and give one another support. And that's how we're going to move forward.
And also, the city has been really good about allowing use of the plaza and other city-owned spaces for memorials and for events in remembrance. Is that something that the city is going to discuss moving forward, or do you envision that changing?
There'll be some changes made, but it's again something that we're going to have to sit down with the families and have that discussion. But I mean, we will still make facilities available and do whatever we can to help the families in any way that we can. Like I said, it's not us against them or them against us. We're all in this together. We have not felt the pain that they felt by any means, and don't claim to. But together, hopefully we can all move forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Hi, Lee Waldman, KSAT 12 News. There was a statement put out by the city asking for some privacy during this one-year mark as the city continues to grieve, as these families continue to grieve. But there was also a statement put out by Lives Robbed inviting the world to come and remember the 21+1. Do you think these are two things working against each other? The city asking for privacy and the families asking then for people to come and remember their kids and remember their moms?
But we're not trying to keep anyone from here. When we talked to the families, they had expressed that they wanted to do their own event that day and the private event, and so we were trying to support that in any way. And we support the event that they've called for at the amphitheater, in the walk, in the plaza. We're 100% in support of it. We're not, like I said, it's not us against them. We want to be here to support them, not to be a distraction, not to be anything.
How do you all see after this week going? How do you all see the city continuing to support the families of the 21 victims?
I mean, it's just something that, like I said, there is no playbook written. We just have to take it day by day, and hopefully we can move forward together.
Hi, Will Grant from BBC News. We've spent time with the family of Alicia Ramirez, and it strikes me that one of the things that seems hardest for them is the degree to which they just feel they've been kept in the dark, and that nobody has been held accountable in any way for what happened that day. You speak of allowing people to grieve, Pastor, but surely the extent to which people can grieve depends on first receiving justice. Do you feel, Mayor, that anyone will ever be held accountable for the mistakes that were made a year ago?
You know, I've said over and over, everybody that was there that day has to be held accountable, whether it be the school police department, the Uvalde Police Department, every agency that was there. And this is my opinion. It's been a bunch of BS that we've been a year and we're still waiting for answers that we are. But we're moving forward to get those answers now. And as soon as we have our report, which should have been done, but it's not, then I can promise you whatever action that we need to take, we will take. And we will. I can't speak for the other agencies, but I can tell you when we started this, the Uvalde Police Department, or the City of Uvalde, was the first one to call for an internal investigation. And we've been blocked since day one at that point.
I mean, it is unacceptable, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
Hi, Ana Yeli Ruiz with CBS in Houston. Question. You sent out a letter and correct me, I'm sorry, I can't remember the date. You guys sent out a letter signed by city, county, school officials asking people not to come to town to give kind of people a space. But it feels like you guys kind of want to brush this off, what happened, kind of don't want people to report what, you know, I feel like these families have been failed in so many levels, and you guys don't want us here reporting that. That's how it feels, and you're asking to tow vehicles from the memorial, from the murals. I mean, these are things that are keeping their kids' memories alive, and you guys are asking to tow away vehicles. It doesn't make sense. Please kind of explain the thought process behind that and why you're asking people to stay away when clearly not everybody feels that way, and a lot of these families want the memories of their children to live on, and they're actually fighting for change.
Well, first of all, we didn't talk to every family member. We did have some meetings with family members, and some that I did talk to wanted to have privacy and wanted to do their own thing that day. And so that's why we wrote that letter, not to, like I said, not to a gotcha moment against the families or anything. We wanted them to have the privacy that they wanted. If they wanted to visit their gravesite, we didn't want a reporter sticking a camera in their face the whole time. So that's why we asked for that privacy, because that's when the discussions we had, that's what they wanted. Like I said, we are in full support of what the families want to do. Using the amphitheater, using the civic center, whatever resources we have, we've tried and will make available to them to support them any way we can. Like I said, we're not trying to, you know, as far as interviews, if you've asked, I don't think there's many that can say I haven't given one. I may not have the answers you want, but I've tried to be as transparent and straightforward as I can be since day one, and I will continue to be that way. But there's no gotcha moment of us trying to push the families off or acknowledge this. This happened. It's something we have to live with the rest of our lives. We'll be a part of this community, and we will not feel the same pain that these families have had and can't even imagine it. But it's a pain this whole community has felt for a year. And together we'll move forward. And like I said, we're here to support the families, and that's what this week will be about, is what we can do to support them.
I know that there was also something that mentioned that you kind of wanted, that you had spoken about possibly getting rid of the crosses in the center plaza. And obviously these families want to leave their memory of their children there. Do you commit on keeping those crosses there for these families?
That's something that we'll have to talk to the families on. They're, you know, whether they'll stay in the cross or we pick them, whether they stay in the plaza or we pick a memorial site and we do where we're going to do this. That's a discussion that we have to have with the families that we have not had yet.
And then one last question, sir. What's the latest on the investigation in your police department?
Our investigator is still gathering information, and we are finally working together to get all the information that we need so that we can complete our investigation.
It's been a year, though.
You're preaching to the choir, ma'am. I know it's been a year, and I can tell you from where I'm sitting, it's been as frustrating as hell.
Mr. Mayor, could I say a word? I'd like to add just one quick word on the letter. I was in the room where a lot of people were represented at school, county, city, and the intent of the letter was not to exclude anybody, but to try to send a message, and I believe it was 100% agreed upon in that meeting that the intent was, if you're coming to, and you have to cause trouble, if you're coming to protest other things in opposition to our families, that maybe you should just find another time and place to do that. That was the intent of that language. And I really regret that some of our families, if they thought that was trying to get people to stay away, that was not the case. I guarantee you 100% of that letter was to try to prevent bad actors from coming in and disrupting the families for that day.
I might add, I was in that same meeting, and that wasn't simple. There's been talk of what I would call people with not good motives that were coming. And if we could do anything to discourage them from coming, I'm here to say to do it. And that was the intent of the prophecy in the tent. Now, maybe the words didn't come out that way. Like I said, I've preached a long time, and I don't always say things exactly the way I want to say it. But the heart behind it was to me, was good, and wanting to be as protective as we could.
Good morning. I'm Marisa Mendoza with News 4 and Fox
Fox
San Antonio. On the same note that you had mentioned about how to grieve, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people from other cities coming in to mourn with the city and with the families. How do you want the people to come into the city? Where would you like them to park? Where would you like them to just be so that they could be supportive of the families and of the cities? Because we don't want to, get in the way of the families. I'm sure people don't want their cars towed. Is there a specific place you'd like people to be?
I mean, basically, you're going to have, as far as people coming into town, you'll just have to find a parking spot. I mean, from Tuesday night on, the parking lot here at the Civic Center, it will be closed because the families will be coming to the Civic Center and they will have the parking lot at the Civic Center. The plaza around downtown and the courthouse, those streets will be blocked so that we don't have news cameras or big news trucks in the middle of the street. So those streets will be blocked starting Tuesday evening, through Wednesday, so that those people that gather on the plaza won't have to worry about cars coming through there or people trying to park or whatever. So, as far as parking, there's plenty of public parking in town, but I don't have a designated area I can tell you to park.
Is it, I know that you said that you worked closely with the families and you didn't mean to offend anyone when you put out the letter of not having people at the murals, but do you find that you're going in a different direction than other cities, keeping the city closed off the way that you have been or are?
Well, I mean, if the families choose to walk the murals and that, then it's in our best interest to protect those families and have those streets blocked so cars aren't trying to come through there while they're trying to take that time to walk amongst themselves and visit and reflect on their child's mural that day. So if that makes us bad guys for closing those streets, then sign me up. I'm the bad guy because I don't think they need the traffic and cars trying to come through there while they're trying to have their time.
Thank you.
This question is for you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Jose Redondo with Spectrum News 1. We've spoken before, and one thing you've mentioned is a barrier for you to get answers as the district attorney. What's those conversations been like as of recently?
As of recently, as far as the district attorney and the city of Uvalde are working together to get the results that we need. And that's all I can answer on that at this time. But we are working to get what we need. think she's coming.
Luke Simons, Kins 5, San Antonio. Obviously, this is not a place that you all, these families, wanted to be in. But 1 year later, when the spotlight is back here this week, what do you hope people understand about these families, the people, the community, that they may not know about, if you're not from this area?
I mean, a lot of these families still have children at home, and they're still caring for their children. And like I said, we can't even imagine the pain that they felt. In a year's time, they still don't have answers to simple questions that they should have gotten. I mean, I'm the mayor. I've been 1 year. I haven't got one briefing from anybody from day one. Not one. Nor has the county judge. That's very frustrating. So if it's frustrating on us, you can only imagine what it does to them. So, I mean, hopefully that what people will see, that we will move forward. We're never going to get over this day, and the families are never going to get over this day. But together, maybe we can move forward, and we can come out of this and show that out of this bad and terrible thing, that we can have positive things come forward and show love to one another to move forward and get the answers that we need. Like I said, I don't have all the answers to this. I hope, and my prayers and thoughts every night are that no town ever has to go through anything like this, but yet it continues over and over and over. The thing we need to be talking about, and it's not part of the question you asked me, but just like gun control, we need to have a conversation, and we need to have a conversation that sits down, and we need to look at changing the law, and we need to do stronger background checks. But we have elected officials up there on both sides of the party that say my way or the highway, and we need to reach a point that we can sit in a room and have a conversation. And I'm not going to get 100%, and you're not going to get 100%, but together we can come up with something that works for everybody. And I'm hoping we can do the same thing with these families. We may not give them 100% of everything they want, and we're not going to get 100% of everything that we want from them. But together we can sit down and have a conversation and move forward. And that's what I'm hoping we can do, and that's what I'm hoping is reflected this year and this going forward.
Good morning, Melissa Barraza, reporter with Telemundo San Antonio. Just a quick question on kind of like on that note. It's been a year and the families feel there hasn't been any answer. What's going to be done from the city, to keep pushing, or what's the effort that you guys are going to do now, to get those answers for the families and for the whole city?
I can promise you that I will be pushing, and so will the city and everybody, to get these answers. And hopefully we will start getting them sooner than later.
Have you guys not been pushing enough, or
I can't barely hear you with the...
Have you guys not been pushing enough, or what has been not done from you all to get those answers beforehand?
Yeah.
I asked the mayor if I could make a comment on that.
Yeah.
We hired an independent investigator back in the summer and thought we would be able to proceed with our internal. We can only speak for ourselves. We can't speak for any other organization. We hired somebody from outside the organization because we thought that would be a more credible way of approaching this. You all know the saga. You know the story of the disputes about access to information. But so we've been pushing the whole time, and the unfortunate recourse to the legal system to get some movement on this, I think, has maybe worked to our favor. We've reached an agreement with the judge looking over the shoulders of both parties, an agreement to allow our independent investigator to finish his job. I may be a little bit old-fashioned because I still believe in due process. We have to do this right, and that's the right way to do it. And it's taken way too long, and the mayor's expressed that frustration, and we all have it too. But we've got to see this through, and I realize that that's a key piece to the puzzle in moving on. We know that's true. Moving forward, I should say. We've got jobs to do. We still have to take care of this town, and but we want to honor the memories of the people that died that day in the process, and that won't ever leave our minds. I can assure you that. But I think it really is key for us to get done the part that we have to do and to do it right. We don't want any backtracking. We don't want any do-overs.
What's your message for the community or on a whole?
My message for the community is a hope. You know, this has been a tough year. No, like I said, we haven't had it as tough as these families, but it's been a tough year, and it's been a trying year for everyone involved. So my hope is that maybe God will come in and open hearts and let some healing begin in the community. Like I said, I can't, you know, for the families, I can't imagine what that healing is, but that's my prayer every day. And, you know, as a community, hopefully, you know, we will continue to move forward and you know, express love to one another, I guess, is the easiest way to say it, like I said.
And lastly, one last question. When it comes to the parking and for the visitors and also for us, the
You
media.
go up, it hears you, but I can't hear. I'm old now. I'm gonna have to get my hearing checked.
Sorry for the question with the parking for the visitors, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the media are asking that, especially when it comes to like the school. You know, where can we park? Is it because it's a whole residential area right there? You mentioned public parking, but I mean in that area.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right here on the other side of Walgreens is a big vacant lot. We've agreed. We talked to the owner of that lot. You can park your news trucks and cameras and trucks there. You know, it's not far from the from the Civic Center. It's not far from the plaza, but you can park there, and that's a pretty good sized lot, and it's all weather lot, so the rain didn't hurt it. The other, I think we've talked to the school district about using the southwest corner of the teacher's parking lot at the Robb School area. If you want to park your news trucks there, that keeps them off the streets, and you're close to the school and the functions there. But I mean, you know, as of like I said, tomorrow night, if you park in the Civic Center parking lot, we will ask you to move nicely at first, and if you don't, we will tow you.
Michael Robinson, Uvalde Hesperian. One of the questions that came to mind, and I guess a frustration for many, is the District Attorney Christina Busby, and I noticed in that letter that they mentioned that she also was a signator on that letter, which I thought was interesting because of the, I guess the dispute or some legal issues with the city. But my question is this, and I know this is a city press conference, but where is Christina Busby, the DA? Where is she today? Where's the governor today? It's a huge event. And my question is to you, is it possible, because she said, okay, 6 months and then another 6 months, is it possible she is bluffing? She has no information. She has no information. She's not planning on doing any legal action against any police department or DPS. Do you think she's just stonewalling? Is that a possibility?
You know, I can't speak to that. I don't know the answer. I don't know what she's thinking. But what I can tell you, we didn't ask Christina here today. We didn't ask the governor here today. Matter of fact, we didn't want any politicians to come here today. I don't even want to be speaking here today. Because it's not about me and it's not about politics. And it's about these families and the loss of their children and these teachers. So we didn't ask any politicians to come here today. And we didn't extend that invitation.
Hi, Wendy Woolfolk with NBC News. Mr. Patterson, can I just ask you, do you know what plans are for the site of Robb Elementary School?
Yes, ma'am. We don't have a timeline in place, but the school board of trustees decided early on that that building, the facility would be taken down. And so litigation has tied that up and will continue to tie that up. We hope to be fairly well close to the end of that. And when everybody has cleared that building, we're waiting for one more party to clear it. When that's cleared, then we can begin the plans for the demolition. So again, I don't have a timeline, but I would hope that we can move forward that plan sometime during the summer.
What kind of litigation is holding this up?
There's a court order against the demolition right now.
From the family members or from the city?
From the district attorney.
And what would you and these family members who are on the front row want to see happen with the site of that school?
Well, that's a very difficult question for me to answer. I think that's something that we certainly will start at the appropriate time with input from the families, and then a project like that would also need input from the greater community as well. So I think that's just going to take some time to work through that, start the process, and then make some decisions what that property will be in the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I think everyone has asked a question. One more? Oh, please. Okay, sorry.
Hi, I don't have a question. I actually have a statement. Mr. Patterson, Mr. McLaughlin, Mr. DiPiazza, thank you very much for working with us during this time. Mr. Chief of Police Rodriguez and Judge Mitchell, we appreciate all that y'all have done to help us with this. So there's been some confusion with the letter that y'all sent out. We wish y'all would have showed us that letter so we could have maybe worked together on that part. So we're going, but I also understand what y'all tried to help cover up for us, so we're just gonna announce it since it's already been let out of the bag. The families do have something going on prior to the vigil, which will be here, and a mural walk, and that is what they were trying to keep private for our sake, because we do not want media or anyone else attending that other than family members that were invited. So there was a little bit of miscommunication in both parts. So that's why the statements were put out. Lives Rob put out the statements because the vigil is open to the public. The butterfly release is open to the public. Anything that happens after the mural walk will be happening at the amphitheater here at the Civic Center. And so yes, the public is welcome to that event. So again, thank y'all so much for trying to help out with this and trying to keep that part of it private. So that's why the mural walks were asked to be taken, not to be blocked off or visited at that time for that time frame. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for being here. If you have any other questions, email them to Gina Eisenberg. You should have my email address. If you don't, come see me afterwards, and we'll see what we can do to help. Thank you for being here.
Muchas gracias, Gus.
No, nada.